So this is a quick review of adding and subtracting fractions. Both of these practice problems are coming right off of the examples from your fraction review packet. Now, the first problem, -1 3/4 plus 4/5, what we need to do first, because I have a mixed number there, I need to change that to an improper fraction. Now, you're going to always change your mixed numbers into improper fractions when you're dealing with fractions in algebra. Mostly because when we're dealing with positive and negative numbers, it's just a lot easier to have them as improper fractions. So get into the habit of putting everything into an improper fraction. Now, taking a look at -1 3/4. -1 3/4 is the exact opposite of +1 3/4, except that it's negative. Okay? This negative is not only on the -1. It's on the whole fraction. So the whole fraction is going to be negative. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring that negative sign down, and then you're going to change 1 3/4 to an improper fraction, ignoring that negative sign. So you're going to do the denominator times the whole number plus the numerator, and that's going to give you your new numerator. The denominator will stay the same. So you do 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So you're going to get 7/4. Now, the negative sign there, it can go right out front or it can pop onto the top number. We typically leave our negative signs on the top or out front. I will always try to put mine on the top so that I don't forget about it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 4/5 to that. Now, whenever you're adding and subtracting fractions, you have to have a common denominator. That way you can add and subtract the numerators to get it. So what I want is the least common multiple of 4 and 5, which is 20. So I'm going to change my denominators both to 20. So now whenever you change your denominator, you also have to change your numerator so that the fractions are equivalent. So looking at -7/4, well, think about, what did I multiply this 4 by to get 20? Well, 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm also going to multiply the top fraction, the top number, by 5 as well. So I get -7 times 5, which is -35. Keep that negative sign right on top. Now, 4/5, I changed 4/5 to something over 20. Well, I multiplied 5 by 4 to get 20, so you have to multiply the top number by 4 as well, because what we're actually doing here is we're multiplying by something that's equivalent to 1. And 4 times 4 is 16. Now, if you think about reducing 16/20, that does equal 4/5. And reducing -35/20, that does equal -7/4. Okay, so now that we have a common denominator, all you do is add and subtract the top number. So now keep in mind the first number is negative. So we're doing -35 plus 16. So that ends up giving us -19. Because 35 is bigger than 16, the answer is going to be negative, and because one is negative and one is positive, you're actually finding the difference between the two numbers. So you get -19/20. Okay, now -19/20, you can write it as -19/20 with the negative right on the outside. All right, so either way is perfectly fine. Now let's take a look at the next one. 2/3 minus 1 1/6. Again, we have a mixed number that we need to change to an improper fraction. So 2/3 is fine just the way it is. We're then going to change 1 1/6 by doing 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So this gives me 7/6. This time we're subtracting. So this is going to be -7/6. The next thing we have to do, because we're subtracting, is find a common denominator. Now, you might be thinking, well, can't I just multiply 3 times 6 to get 18 as my common denominator? And the answer to that is yes. However, that's not the least common denominator. I always want to find the least common denominator. If you think about it, if I multiply 3 by 2, that's going to give me 6. So the least common denominator is 6. So I don't even have to change 7/6. I only have to change 2/3. So now I'm going to put 6 in the denominator. Since I would multiply the top fraction by 2/2, I have to do 2 times 2 to get 4/6. Because think about that. 4/6, if I reduce that, that is 2/3. Now I'm going to do 4/6 minus 7/6. Now that they have the same denominator, the denominator is going to stay 6, and then we do 4 minus 7. Now it's 4 minus 7, so it's a smaller number minus a larger number, which means it's going to be negative. So I'm going to get negative 3. So it becomes negative 3/6. Now that fraction can be reduced. Both negative 3 and 6 are divisible by 2, which is going to give us negative 1/2. You can also write your answer as negative 1/2, where the negative's right next to the fraction bar. Correct answer, negative 1/2.